Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Always, and welcome back to Stoneblock 2. In the last episode, we kind of stopped doing everything that we were doing. We had a little bit of planning with this room, I do believe. But mostly what we did was we worked on Thaumcraft. And yeah, it's been a while since I've done Thaumcraft. So forgive me for not realizing this, but all those theories we were making was actually progressing us a little bit. We are getting knowledge totals every time we complete a theory and have at least some percentage of everything. And that's going to help us get more research unlocked and be able to do stuff. We also need to scan stuff and lots of things with Thaumcraft. However, we're gonna skip out on the magic today, and I want to turn our attention to the farms. But before we do that, I did a little bit of work. So I have things hooked up down here in a much better way and moved the automation for the processors. Slightly larger chest we can still get into. No problems there. Got enough cables going everywhere. All these guys are hooked up so we can make all of this stuff. No problem, and we can honestly duplicate most of the things from Applied Energistics without any issues, which is good because that's what we're going to work on with the farm today. So before we go down there, I did get another cow. This one was, let's see, what is the breeding chance? It is a 3% chance, and I finally got it. It was the Liquid Death cow. And we get for that some speed upgrades. Okay, we're going to put those away and head on down here. So you can see I've cleared things up a little bit, made things look a little bit nicer. Called out a room for the mob duplicator, which we'll need at some point. That is still doing its thing. But yeah, so we have the Liquid Death, and Melodic Alloy is what goes with it to make the Stellar Alloy. And then Iron and Liquid Death make the Evil Infused. And those combined, once I get both of them, at a 1% chance will get me Molten Infinity. Which is crazy powerful because it's Infinity Ingots. So we're going to get that. And hopefully, I might try to get two. I don't know if there's a good way to breed the cows together. You can always breed cows together if they're the same breed. So we might try to get a handful of those. And that's what I want to work on today. So, not so much the breeding of the cows, but what we're going to be doing with them afterwards, and that is the stalls. So we have a couple stalls. We've been getting these a little bit from loot boxes. They come from uncommon ones. Not too bad to get. They're also not terrible to make. Some great concrete. We can automate that pretty easily, and it's just going to be a matter of. I mean, we have plenty of hay bales. I've been making those and just heading them over here. I've also been working on chickens kind of a little bit, not much. This is the rough numbers of everything we're going to need. There are 53 fluid cows and 121 chickens from my count, plus a few that are unobtainable, like the chicken osto. That is one that there is no way for us to get this guy. There is no crafting recipe. There is no, like, unless it exists somewhere in the universe, we can't get them. So I have that. I think I skipped over them on my list in here on the clipboard, but when I was double checking my count with JEI, NEI, whatever this is called anymore, I wasn't too sure. Like, I was getting different numbers. So I think it's about 121, but there are 53 fluid cows. And so we're going to set up a bunch of different things for the fluid cows. And to help with that, we're going to be using Applied Energistics because it's amazing. But kind of the more important thing that needs to be said is I did some digging. So I did some digging. This is where we're going to set up our farms. Secret, it's just a hollow box anymore. I'm going to finish digging this out later, but I thought it would be funny just to keep it looking like the same. Of course, if you looked at the map in the top right corner, you probably noticed, but yeah, so I did a lot of digging. This was a bit time consuming, but this is going to be where we have all of our farm stuff. So the idea is we're going to have a big barn for the cows, and I know I like making these. We might do it, I don't know, we might put it in the barn. We're going to have like a chicken coop, and you know, maybe we'll make the barn big enough so that it can have both. I think we might do that. And then we're going to have, you know, tree farms and wheat farm, like plant farms, mystical agriculture in here, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to make it look kind of neat. I actually wanted to see, yeah, of course we have building gadgets. So there is, of course, an exchanging gadget. I'll need to research how that works. That's going to be super important because to make this place look good, we're going to have to do some fancy stuff. So what we're going to work on today is just kind of a proof of concept that we can get fluid cows working. So we're going to go back to, hold on, what is in this chest? I don't remember. Oh, the excess stuff from up here, which I did fill the corners in. I don't know quite how the staircase is going to look, but I do know we're going to have two quote-unquote caves here. And I might even exchange all of this stone brick for something a little bit nicer. We'll see. This, by the way, is still working really well. We have a ton of stuff, including 3 legendary loot boxes, chests, whatever. So yeah, what we're going to do is we are going to work with Applied Energistics' other form, the liquid form. So we're going to need to make fluid storage cells regardless. That is quests. But we're going to kind of set up what we're going to need. And kind of my idea is I want to be able to control. So if we have a bunch of storage cells, and let's actually go to Applied. Is this part of Applied Energistics? It is. Okay. So the fluid storage is at least part of Applied Energistics. And I think we'll also want one of these to kind of help with things. So what we're going to want to do is if we look at any of the fluid storage cells, so if you don't know, the standard storage cells, obviously 1K ME storage cell holds 1,000 bytes, basically 1,000 items, 1,024. It's computer style storage. It's not exactly 1,000. It's 1,024 because binary. So then 4K is 4,096. But they only can store 63 types of items. So a type of item is basically every single entry in here. So Breezing Doll is a type of item. We could hold in one of these 1,024 Breezing Dolls. Or we could hold one of 64 items. We can't hold, or 63 items rather. We can't hold 64 items. So the same kind of thing happens for the fluid cells. These things can only hold 1,000 bytes for a 1K, obviously. The bytes don't change, and I'm not entirely sure if that's millibuckets or what for the storage cell, or if it's buckets, because it could be 1,000 buckets of fluids, but it can only hold 5 types. Well, we saw just a minute ago that we're going to need 53 fluid cows. So we're going to have 53 types of fluids. And so we're going to need quite a few of these regardless. But one thing that's kind of important is we need to make sure that we don't get too much of one fluid. So for example, if we look at a normal cow in the fluid cows, the milk cow, and we see what it does. It produces milk every 3,500 ticks. So that's not too bad, but it produces 1 bucket of milk, 3,500 ticks. If we look at the Molten Infinity, it produces a bucket of Molten Infinity every 272,000 ticks. That is a much longer time. So if we had just all of the storage cells in there, we would fill up with milk and other things that aren't as important as, say, infinity or iron, or, you know, whatever we want. And so I want to be able to control that. We're going to do that in a kind of smart way. But first we need to craft a bunch of stuff. So first things first, we probably should make another disk drive. So I guess they're just ME drives. Can I get... I do have an ME drive. I am probably going to teach the system how to make those. Also, let's make this a little bit nicer. Let's get a cable or two. And let's break this guy. And we're going to just do something like this. Crafting terminal, pattern terminal. There's a couple other things that we might want, but that is going to make things a lot easier. So first thing we should probably teach this system how to make. We're going to need a fluid terminal at some point. So can we make one of those? We need a ME terminal. And for an ME terminal, we're going to need formation, annihilation, and logic. So let's get those. And it should not be difficult at all. We don't have any more crafting CPUs. That's something that we're probably going to want to make more of. Do I have storage cells? Yeah, I could make storage components. So we could probably easily make another crafting storage. The more of these we have, and as long as these are in a square shape, we can make as many as we want. But how bad is the housing? It's not too bad. You know what, let's go ahead and teach the system how to make those. I did make some interfaces. And let's grab two of those. We're gonna do some upgrades to our Applied Energistics system before we do too much more. If we put those there, they should be connected. And I should probably teach the system how to make a couple things. So first thing we're going to teach it is how to make smart cables. Because we can make all the cable stuff now pretty easily. Smart cables is the only thing that really matters. And then we're going to need to teach the covered cable. And we're going to have ore substitution. And that should be fine. So I think one of the next things I want to make so that my life is easier, and it doesn't really matter where these go, I want to make an interface terminal. There is a bunch of terminals. So the one I want is an interface terminal. So we need an engineering processor. And has it finished making? No, it's still making. Why? Oh, right. Those need power. Do I have any cables? And does power transfer? Let's see. Does power transfer between them? Okay, so now they have power. Okay, there we go. I forgot about that. So they should all... I think they need power anyways. I can't see it, but I do believe they do need power. So we should be able to make an engineering processor now. And just one, it shouldn't take too long. And then we can always make speed upgrades for that as well. We'll do that another time. A lot of upgrades that we need to make, we'll do later. But the interface terminal is going to be super important. And... oh, I need another terminal thing. Illuminated panels. So let's get those. Interface terminal. There we go. So this is going to go right there. Actually, I don't know why I needed to make that. I thought I had one. Anyways, this lets us see all of the interfaces connected to the system, which is really, really nice. I can access them from here instead of having to go down there. So, all right. Next thing we want to do is the fluid terminal. We need an ME terminal. So we need the other core. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and make this recipe, and then the crafting unit recipe, and we'll put those in there. And now we can make a 4K crafting storage, and that'll take a minute. So basically what we're going to be doing is upgrading our crafting here, and we just put one here and it should be fine, and it should allow us to do 2 recipes at once instead of just 1. Each crafting storage can only do 1 recipe that is of the amount of bytes as it can store. So for example, let's make sure this is still working just fine. Yeah, seems to be. Okay. So for example, like if we wanted to have a huge craft, a big multi-component craft, it could use a lot of bytes. And if we're making a lot of them, it could use like 64 or a lot more than 64. What the coprocessing unit does is allows us to do 2 crafts at the same time. So in the same recipe, we can do 2 different crafts. Now I think this will, actually I don't know that this will actually do what I think it does. I think that just upgrades. So let's see. I want to make the core, and let's see if we can make, no, there's only 1 CPU. Let's see if we can make some cables or something. Let's make one of those. No, I cannot do that. So we're going to also have to teach the system how to make a crafting coprocessor. And we'll make another one of those in a second. So we don't need the crafting coprocessor, but it is going to be useful. And that will take just a moment. Actually, let's cancel that, because it will still actually work. And then we will do something like this. Let's grab some cables. And now we should be able to do a little bit more. But what I want is, more than anything, is we need to have plenty of channel kind of knowledge. So we can make one of these. Should not be too bad. And then we're also going to need a logic processor. We have, I think because of the other stuff, but we're going to need the fluid. We're going to need fluid stuff. The fluid terminal is the first thing. So we need the ME terminal. And then for the fluid terminal, we're going to need another logic processor. And then, do we have that cable? We do. So I want this cable just so that we can see how we're doing on channels with this guy, which I don't think is doing anything, so it should be fine to just break that and replace it. It should be 4 channels. Perfect. So channel management is something that's really annoying that we have to deal with, but it's not too terrible. Okay, there is the fluid terminal. That is going to let us see the fluids in the system. Now, the next thing we're going to need to make is, we're just going to make a 1K for now, but let's actually teach the system how to make these. So 1K fluid cell. We do not want pure Certus quartz. We want normal Certus quartz. And there we go. So the 1K component, and then we just need to make that. So fluid 1K storage. And then the other thing that we're going to need a lot of is fluid import buses, which requires all that stuff. We're going to teach the system how to make those. You know, we should probably make some more patterns. Oh, hey, there's a pattern in here for quartz glass. I don't know why, but I think I took it out because I didn't have space. Yep, that's exactly why. So let's make like 30 of these. We're going to use a lot of patterns. Auto crafting is always better if we can do it. But let's see if we can't make a 1K. I don't want to make a recipe for a 1K. So we just need the quartz glass. Okay, so it's making a bunch for that. Once the patterns are done, then we can worry about that. But we can grab some patterns right now and go ahead and make the other stuff that we need. So we're going to need the fluid import buses. And then we're also going to need to teach the system how to make sticky pistons. And we have a pattern for pistons new. So we'll have to teach the system how to make pistons. You can see where it gets kind of complicated with every step of the way. And then we have to put all of these in here, which is not too bad. I can't shift click, but that's just how it is. And then the other thing we're going to want to make is the level emitters. And we're also going to need to teach the redstone torch. That's not too bad. Wrong one. Alright, so let's make, we have a little bit of quartz glass. Let's go ahead and grab the 1K fluid cell. We're going to pop that immediately out. And we're going to teach the system how to make, I don't know why it like points my mouse upwards. We're going to immediately teach the 4K because that is a lot better. And let's go ahead and make a 4K fluid storage component. So we have the fluid level emitters, the fluid import bus, and we'll get the 64 fluid storage cell at some point. Now, if we look at fluid storage cells, there is much higher ones, specifically from extra cells. I think the highest we can get is the 4064K. So basically the 4K, 4000K storage cell. Really, really good. Requires a lot of things. It's kind of annoying. But we should be able to get the storage component and pop it into a housing. And there we go. So that is 1024 buckets. So, okay, so it is divided by 4. That is what a byte is. Byte is a quarter of a bucket, apparently. If that is anything to go by. So, I still had that in my inventory. That's not necessarily good. Oh well. Anyways, last thing we're going to get is a cell workbench. So in order to get this, we're going to need some wool. And for that, we're just going to take some string. We have plenty of string. And there we go. So the cell workbench is something that's kind of important for doing some interesting things. And we're just going to set it, honestly, we're just going to set it right here. So basically, if we put a cell in here, we can do some weird things with it. We can clear all configurations. We can add upgrades of some sort. I want to actually look into that. I don't know what. Oh, right. Inverter cards, fuzzy cards, and capacity cards. So, can we actually put storage? No, those are different things. But storage cells, we can put the fuzzy cards and inverter cards. That is for the filtering system, which is what we want to look at. So partitions, and we can copy it. So basically, if we put a cell in there, and let's go grab a bucket of milk. So there is a bucket of milk. And if we put, I realize we should have just went downwards. We put this in here. We can put a bucket of milk in there. You can see the milk right there. And this now is configured. Included precise things. So we can only have milk in this one. Now, what we can do, let's get the other stuff we want. So we want the fluid import bus. We're going to want a fluid level emitter. We're going to want some power. What's taking this one so long? Oh, it's got to make that. So we're going to need a flux point, which I don't actually have craftable. Let's fix that. Let's make sure that it is a point. I do believe it's a point. Removing energy from the flux network. Yes. And I guess let's teach the system how to make all of the stuff. We won't worry about some of it though. Ice vendor and redstone blocks. We are starting to run out of room already. Can we make the flux? Is that what I think it is? Redstone smelted. Yes, we can. So that actually should be easy enough. Okay, set that to processing. And then we can put that down here in this pattern. So that is a sag mill. Richmond. Okay, cool. Perfect. So we should be able to make a flux point, no problem. We have most of the stuff already, but there we go. Power. Is there anything else we're going to need? We need, I think we have everything. So what we're going to basically have is we're going to have a stall. Let's grab a cow. I guess we're going to grab 2 cows for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to pour the milk. Actually, we can deal with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have probably in the floor. We'll see how it is. And this is just a proof of concept type of thing. Let's actually raise this up even more so we can kind of work underneath it. But we're going to have the fluid import bus underneath these stalls. And attached to this, we're going to have a level emitter. Not quite like that. And this is going to go down. So how do we want to do this? I'm going to have to figure out a good way to arrange this. I guess we can put this here. And maybe if we put a block here, the fluid level emitter. No, that's not going to work. Let's break that. We'll put that there first. Level emitter, import bus, and we'll do the fluid stuff over here. And then I realize I need a controller or something like that. We're going to put our partitioned storage in there, and then like that and like that. So I should be able to make this kind of compact. That is not the right way. But we do need some sort of power acceptor. And I don't believe... do I have an ME controller? I do. Perfect. So basically what this is going to have is we have a system so that we can put cows in here. Right, we need the halter first, so I do have that. Alright, so if we have the fluid terminal, so I believe I can just right click milk, and there is a bucket of milk. It takes up 32 bytes, and we have this level emitter. Now the level emitter we can do kind of weird things with. So one thing we can do is we can have this looking at milk. If we have, let's say 1 bucket, emit when levels are above. So it has nothing in it. If we put the milk in, you can see on the side, it turns on. So what we can do is we could get a, what do we need? We need a card for this. We need a redstone card. Not too difficult to make. but we are going to want a lot of these because all of the things are going to want these cards. Now, it's not going to be too bad, but I basically don't want to overflow the system with one type of... I don't know why it does that. With one type of, one type of the liquids that we're going to be getting. I want it to be able to have kind of equal, or we can kind of make what we want. So we're going to want a redstone card. And this is going to enable us to turn off the filter, or the import bus rather. We can get rid of that and go back to the card. So it's going to take just a second. It's going to make 2 of these. I can make 2 of them for every one, which is nice. But cards are also useful for other things. But basically, we're going to have a ton of these things everywhere, and we're going to have to worry about channels and all sorts of things. This is going to be like, this is using, just this setup is using 1, 2, 3, 4 channels. I do believe. I don't remember if the thing uses channels or not. Let's grab real quick this guy and see if we can't set things up so that we can see the channels that we're using. And I think all that's going to do is just move this over one and move that like that. So how many channels are we using? There's 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, so the level emitter does actually use channels. So let's say we have a redstone card in here. And we can say always active, active without signal, active with signal, and whatnot. So we're going to have this active without a signal, and this is going to be at the max that we want. So if there is a bucket of milk in here, and we can put that guy in there, he's going to make milk eventually. But basically, we can speed that up a little bit. Can't we? I guess we can't. That is a little bit weird. But basically, this will produce milk and it will put it into the system. Now, if we had another stall, another cow, let's find a cow that has a pretty quick cooldown. A lot of these have pretty high cooldowns because they're water. Water is very quick. And we can kind of demonstrate things. So let's see if I can't trick this a little bit. Let's grab the cow. Let's break this. Let's put, this might crash the game or something. Let's speed that up. And then if we can be quick, we can put the cow in there and it speeds up. So the cow is going to make milk. It just made a bucket of milk. Okay, a quarter bucket of milk. And everything else should still be in there because this turned off the system. And I'll have to figure out exactly, what each like bucket is actually worth. But let's grab that cow out and show off something else. So if we turn this level emitter to like something super high so that we can store milk in here. And it's going to store whatever we produce. So probably a bucket or 2. And it's pretty slow. We can speed that up with speed upgrades. But what if we put, say, a water cow in there? Now, our system is configured so that it cannot take water in. But what we can do, we put that guy in there. He's going to make water pretty quick. But we don't have any water in there. So let's do that same like trick. where we speed things up. And water should be going in here, right? This is working, but it's not going to go in there because there's no space in here. This guy is partitioned, or basically it is configured, or filtered. There we go, that's a good word. It's filtered to only accept milk. Now, if we take this out and grab, let's grab that cow. I don't want a bunch of water in here. Water is not particularly useful. But what we can do is we can come back over here, and if we put this guy back in there and say, hey, you can have water now, take the cell out, because you got to remember to do that, we should be able to take all the water out of that and have no problems. So we should see this filling up with water. So basically what we can do is we can not only limit, we might just limit things that we don't care too much about. You know, maybe we'll keep a little bit of water in here. I don't know how useful water is going to be. I don't know what kind of crafting we can do, if much of any. But things like potentially, you know, later on we can use the water to make, say, concrete, or, you know, I don't know exactly what we're going to be able to do with water, but we'll want to store a little bit. Sure, why not? And that's basically what we can do. So we have 15 buckets in here, and it's not too much. I'll need to do a little bit of research on what this level emitter is actually looking at, in terms of what these numbers mean. But this is the basic idea. We're going to have a ton of stalls, and they're all going to have a fluid import bus, and most of them are probably going to be filtered. Some of them are probably not going to be. I'm just not going to worry about it. In terms of filtered, I mean, all of these storage cells will be filtered with all the liquids, but some of these will be toggleable, so we can turn them off if we have too much liquid. If we find out later that we need a ton of milk for some reason, we can just turn this up. You know, we can say, hey, we'll take a lot more milk. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. But things like infinity and whatnot, we're not going to get it that often anyways, so we might just turn it way down, or not have a toggle on it at all. Let it fill up whatever cell it has with whatever we want. So that's kind of, I'll have to kind of decide on everything individually. But, you know, we're going to be getting things from other sources as well. Not only the chickens, but also the mystical agriculture. Some things we just don't need a lot of. And for other things, we'll just kind of, we'll try to keep things even. But that's going to be the basic plan. And at some point, if we get a bunch of the fluid cells that are, you know, the 4096K fluid cells, that is 4 million fluid bytes. That is a lot, considering we have 15 buckets in here and we're using 65 bytes. So maybe we just have that, and, you know, maybe we don't actually go that far because we don't need to. But speaking of which, do we have quests to complete? We do. Cobblestone generator and exchanging gadget. Cool, perfect. That's something I'm gonna want. We'll look into that another time. But today's episode is going to end off there. So proof of concept works. We'll probably never actually make the extreme crafting cells, but we'll probably just stick to the 64Ks. And at the point that we can use those kind of regularly, we're going to need about 11 of them. So that is one of these guys filled and another. So I probably won't worry too much about the level emitters, but for some things like water and milk, we might want to have that as at least an option. So that's going to be it for today's episode. I'm going to work between episodes. One, I'm going to continue breeding these cows, which I think they should be all ready. Let's see if we get anything good. We're looking for a 2% and a 2%. That gave us more liquid death, and that gave us iron. So, no luck, but I'll keep trying. Anyways, next time, I think what we're going to do, part of me wants to just go ahead and make all the machines next time, and kind of set up our machine room, hook up Applied Energistics a little bit more over here, since we can make it a lot easier. There's still a couple things that we're going to want. I think between episodes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out kind of the best course of action to getting to this guy. Because, yeah, our room is there. We'll probably have to come through the side. And, yeah, I don't know exactly where I want the cabling to go. But I need to get a storage bus onto this guy so that we can have access to all of this stuff. And once we do, we have access to a ton of string, which means we can make things like the dense smart cables and start moving around a lot more channels. Dense cables move 32 channels, which is what a single side of an ME controller has, versus the 8 channels that the normal cables do. So, yeah, we're going to want the dense cables for a lot of things. We're going to do some special things when we end up setting up the cows over here. It's called a subnetwork. We'll get to that when we get there. But I think next time what I want to work on is just getting a little bit more, automation with the machines and kind of getting this room a little bit more useful. So that's the plan. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!